the Ice Rink Wales down on Cardiff Bay. Final press conferences for the two guys who would arguably be the main event, certainly the one that may have the most interest in this part of the world. Maybe it's a fight that happened a tad earlier than we would have expected. The original opponent was Ahmet Patterson, but he couldn't make the date, so he stepped aside to allow Gary Corcoran the chance, which he's been chomping at the bit and driving us mad for some time. They've pretty much made their feelings known to each other on social media. I don't think they're bosom buddies. But what we do have is a fight that reminds me very much of things like the early days of Michael Watson fighting Nigel Benn. You've probably got the two top most exciting guys in the division who are going to square off each other. Someone is going to win, that's for sure. But for the loser, it's not over. There's some great fights out there in this division with light middleweights, or super welterweights as they're now known. You've got the likes of Joe Pigford coming through, who's another banger. You've got Ahmet Patterson when he comes through, who's another one, and you've got Jimmy Kelly. The top of the tree is obviously Liam Smith, as we know he's fighting Canelo in September. He's the world champion. So there's everything to go for these two guys. We're hoping the winner of this, we're hoping, and we're in talks for a possible world title fight for the winner. So they've got everything to fight for. Liam Williams has been driving us crazy to come to Wales for some time. He said he would sell tickets, and he certainly has. He's personally done over 1,000 tickets, which I think is extraordinary in this day and age. And even Gary is bringing a fair few from his neck of the woods down at Wembley. So we've got the Millennium Stadium against Wembley.
Portugal, Wales.
We've got England v Wales. We've got just about every ingredient you could possibly want. They've both got records practically identical and everything to fight for. Very exciting times for Liam. I mean, we really believe there's something seriously special about him. If he wins tomorrow night, there's no reason he can't be the next Joe Kawasaki. Certainly with the people he brings behind him, he's already ahead of those guys in ticket sales. And Gary, I think Gary's best described as a slow burner. I remember Dean Powell, God rest his soul, saying many times he's a slow burner, and maybe he is a slow burner. He changed trainers a little while ago from Mark Tibbs, which everyone thought may have been a strange move. He's now with Peter Stanley, who no doubt I'll have something to say shortly. So you better get comfortable. And Frank Greaves, he's probably one of the unsung young trainers in Britain today. Extremely knowledgeable man. For many of you don't know, he's Johnny Greaves' brother, and he's been in his corner for most of his, how many fights? 100 fights. So he does know a thing or two about boxing. And he's one of them guys, if we want to know about an opponent up close, he gives you a good opinion on him, because he's seen him usually in the opposite corner. Again, we've got evenly matched fighters, we've got evenly matched trainers, because we have Gary Lockett in the corner, who I think is a better trainer than he ever was a fighter, but anyway. No, seriously, Gary's again, you know, he's one of those trainers. If you have a young fighter, he's the guy you send him to, because you know we really have big high regard for Gary's capabilities as a trainer, and I think what he's done speaks for itself. In the short time he's been a trainer, what he's done with fighters that were tailing off, and he's rejuvenated them, and what he's done with the likes of Liam and Alex Hughes, I think is another big star coming through who's on the bill. I think it's everything's evenly matched. Probably the only thing Gary's camp has in his advantage is Peter talks more than anybody else.
Fair enough.
I'm sure you're looking to ask them lots of questions, but I'll just run down the bill before we open the floor up. Obviously, we've already had press conferences for Terry Flanagan and Mazonki Fana for the WBO lightweight title. We've got Rigondu against Dickens, who we all met, and I don't know if anyone saw him yesterday doing his public workout, Rigondu. I think Jazz has certainly got his work cut out. At one point, I thought there was more than one guy in the ring. He was hitting pads from so many different angles. But anyway, so we are privileged to have him not only in the UK, but for him to come to Wales is a real coup. Obviously we've got this fight, we've got British welterweight champion Bradley Skeet coming down, Tommy Langford, who's bringing another 2 or 3 coach loads down, a big ticket seller from the Midlands. So he's coming down, plus we've got an undercard which features among others the likes of Joe Pigford and Jamie Conlon, who are never in dull fights. Jamie Conlon doesn't know how to be in a dull fight. And then we've got Alex Hughes. Again, we just said, I think he could be the next big middleweight star in this country. He's just behind the pack, but I think when he gets a chance, he'll break through and surprise a few people. We've got plenty of Welsh guys on the bill. Jay Harris, another up-and-coming flyweight, who we'd love to make with Selby, maybe in the autumn. That's a fight we can do. Craig Evans, again, one more fight and he'll be back in for a title fight, maybe again with Tom Stalker. I think those two will be fighting each other until they're in old age, but sooner or later we've got to break the deadlock. Gary Buckland, former British champion. Dale Evans, who's due in his next fight to have a final eliminator for the British title. So if he wins that, again, Bradley Skeet, that's a fight we can bring back to Wales. Gary Sweeney from Ireland, who's quite an exciting guy. He's had one fight, it was exciting to say the least. And Tyrone McKenna, who's again another under the radar fighter that would be good to see. So it's a really big build. It starts at 3:30. If we can get that across to everybody that it's a 3:30 sharp start. It's a long night, but I don't see any dull fights on the bill. So before I do, we get these guys talking. I'm sure you've got lots to ask. Far away.
Gary. Gary, obviously it's going to be a huge crowd, it's going to be pretty passionate in there. Does it concern you that Liam could get carried away?
In what way?
Into a fight, into a brawl that perhaps he doesn't need to get involved into?
Not really, because he can do everything. You can fight, you can box, you can take
I mean, you know his temperament. You think his temperament will pass the test if he gets heated?
No, not at all. I mean, you know, as Peter and Frank will say, they've obviously got a game plan. We've got a game plan as well. And Williams will follow the game plan. He's a cool customer. Doesn't come across as the sharpest knife in the drawer. But let me assure you, he's very bright, very intelligent. And he's a super intelligent fighter. So I wasn't speaking with the mic for the first couple of sentences. I apologise. Super intelligent fighter, so no, it doesn't concern me at all.
We've seen in the build-up to this, in the social media, no love lost between the two fighters. Is there a genuine dislike between you both, or is it a case of trying to sell the fight? Can you speak to me about that, please? Liam, I can start with you, Liam, if that's all right.
I don't really know. It's just before the fight got made, really. You know, it's one of the things we're both going to be fighting each other. So I suppose it's going to be a little bit heated. And you know, I don't really know Gary personally to dislike him really. So it is what it is. It's going to be a good fight. And yeah, sell to self really. Don't have to talk anymore.
Obviously, it made quite a big splash in the first press conference. It got a little bit heated between yourselves. Having both had time to reflect on that, how do you sort of assess that day?
Yeah, it's one of the things when we've seen each other. We had a little bit of argument before on Twitter and a little bit of what's then. But as I said, we don't know each other personally. We don't know each other, so yeah, it's time to get on with the fight now. It's time to get on with it.
Obviously, there's a big purses and big prizes ahead for the winner of this. It's a real crossroads fight for yourself. As Andy said, both very similar records. Where do you see the winner going from this? Do you think this could propel you to that world level?
I could just jump in. I really think that this is the first fight of a rivalry between those two. I don't think these two are going to fight, win or lose, and not see each other in the opposite corner again. I think these two, they're still relatively young. I think we could be seeing the winner go on, maybe win bigger titles, and I think that there'll be a defence for the guy through. They're not going to fall off the edge of the cliff by losing this fight because the pack is too intense. They might have to fight their way back into it, but I really believe that even for the loser of this fight, he's just going to have to go down a slightly different road, but it won't be a long road before they're back on collision course again. I really think these two could fight 2 or 3 times.
Thank you.
Gary, you've been through. You've been 10 rounds 3 times. Liam hasn't been past 8. Do you think that's a big advantage to yourself?
Yeah, I think it is, yeah, because I've got the experience. I've got the experience. No matter what you say in sparring is a different thing. Sparring is different. Do 10, 12, 15 rounds. But when you jump in front of a crowd, lights are on you, it's a different story. So yeah, I think it's going to do me good.
Is that something that concerns you, Liam, is it?
No, it's not, because you know, I'm doing the rounds in the gym. As Guy said, it might be a little bit different in the fight, but I'm fully prepared. I trained very, very hard, and I feel like I'm definitely ready to come through. And if it's a 12-round fight, I'm ready for that.
It's probably the biggest test of your career, but do you think it's going to be the longest fight? Do you expect to go beyond 8 rounds this time?
Yeah, I do expect it to be the longest fight in my career, because Gary's, you know, he's the best opponent I've been in with. So, yeah, it probably will be the longest fight, but well, all I can tell you is it's going to be a very good fight. Very good fight.
I think
It's going to be fireworks, that's what it's going to be.
from our point of view, it's interesting to see. Obviously, Liam's trained hard. He's going to be very fit. He always is. It's going to be interesting to see how he reacts physically, having done 11 stone the day before, and that's the big issue. We've made the weight and we've done the rounds, and that's going to be the litmus test. Is he still going to be strong after a few rounds, having done 11 stone the day before?
Frank, do you expect Liam to be bigger in the ring?
We're prepared for him to be bigger than Gary on the night. Yeah.
And that's not a concern. No?
Not really. No, not at all. No, not at all.
I think one of the things I can say, knowing both these guys, knowing right from day one, both of them, they're both very critical of their performances. Every time they fight, they never get out of the ring buzzing like, you know, they're putting a great performance. They're always, especially him. I mean, he'll tell you the amount of times I've told him to smile a bit more. He comes, you know, after the ring, I said, "What's the matter?" "Well, I didn't do great." He's always criticising his performance. He always thinks he can do better. And Liam's very much the same. Even when he's looked devastated, he always finds fault in his performance. So for both of them, they strive to improve, which I think on this one is a good thing. There's no arrogance with these two. They really believe and they really criticise their performance and improve. So every time they improve more. Gary, I mean, you know, 5 years he's been boxing now. I think it's only in the last year that he's actually started smiling. I mean, I used to tell you, the amount of times I've called him a miserable
6 months, Andy.
6 months.
It ain't been a year,
6
mate.
months.
You know, so, you know, he is very critical, and I always thought that was his biggest problem, that he lacked belief. Now, with Frank, he seems to have this belief, so I think that's been the difference in his performances.
Peter, he's sparred with, Gary's obviously sparred with Kell Brook and with David Anderson. Do you expect they're better quality fighters than Liam? I mean, obviously sparring is different to a fight, but do you expect that, do you place them as a higher level of...
I wouldn't. I mean, look, we sparred with 2 world champions in this particular camp. Listen, Liam's a very, very good fighter. You've got to remember, all of you here, that there's a 24-year-old and a 25-year-old developing their careers. We didn't hesitate to take this fight. We're confident, as I know Gary's confident with his boy. It's going to be a great fight. Would I say that the difference in the sparring has helped that? Gary sparred all boys of different abilities up and down the country. It's no stranger for us to be away from home. So he's quite comfortable being away. We've been away for a year, Gary? Yeah. Up and down the country. So he's gained experience from that. And he's grown as a fighter, he's grown into the weight. So we're really looking forward to it. And I tell you, you can always expect a really good fight. Styles makes fights. These 2 styles are definitely going to gel. Should be a great fight.
Liam, are you looking forward to boxing at home in Cardiff?
Yeah, it's exciting. Obviously sold all the tickets and whatever, and it's the first time I've been back home since about 3 years. And yeah, everyone's showing massive support. As Andy said earlier, I've sold a load of tickets, well over 1,000 tickets now. And yeah, I'm sure they're going to be there in full voice, and you know, it's going to be really exciting.
Do you expect it to be the first of many fights in Wales, Liam?
Yeah, I hope so. You know, one fight at a time. Obviously, I got to keep performing and keep giving them reason to come back. So, but yeah, I believe it's going to be the first of many.
I mean, would we, you know, just to add some more spice to it, we've got a September date on hold at a venue in Cardiff and a venue in London. We'll know on Saturday night where we're going.
Liam, do you feel you are the man? Because obviously Wales is such a big boxing place. It's been dormant for big shows for a little while. Do you think you are the man to rejuvenate that and to bring the crowds back to big time boxing in Wales?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, there's a lot of good boxing in Wales at the moment. At the moment, I would say I'm probably at the top, apart from likes of Selby. So I feel like I could definitely bring it back, and there's obviously a lot of good fighters to fill good undercards as well. So it's definitely exciting for Welsh boxing, and I believe there's going to be a lot more shows here.
No doubt you've waited on this opportunity to come back here. Does that affect your mentality coming into this? Does that make you want to impress that little bit more?
No, it just makes me excited and really happy to be back on boxing, and yeah, I actually feel more relaxed because I'm not travelling up and down the country, staying in hotels for days on end and whatever. So yeah, I'm relaxed, I'm ready now.
Gary, have you ever boxed in Wales before? Yeah.
Amateur, yeah.
And did you win?
Yeah.
Unbeaten in Wales?
I'm beaten in Wales.
Who did you fight on that occasion?
Yeah, it was youngsters as an amateur. Youngsters.
What age were you? Was it?
What? 13. 13.
Gareth, I used to ring you for information like that. How did you not know?
I was trying to shortcut having to ring you.
6 months it was ago.
Family down.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's got family down here as well.
Guys, you both said it's going to be like fireworks, it's going to be a great fight. But like, come fighting on what has happened previously, do you think that might be in the back of your minds and you're going to be at it from the first bell, or it's going to be more of a tactical fight where you're just edging into it, waiting for the perfect opportunity to land the right punch? Start with you.
The fight, I think the fight's going to go the same way, whether that had happened beforehand or not. We're both professionals, and we're both going to go in, and be about doing our own thing. It was always going to be a good fight anyway, without that happening. So yeah, it's just we both got game plans, and I believe we're both going to stick to them.
Yeah, it's going to be a very good fight. I think two of us come forward, and I saw. Yeah, it's going to be a very good fight. It's going to be a very exciting fight. Very exciting.
I think
Any
personally,
predictions for the fight? Of either of you? Distance? Stoppage?
I'm not going to say. I'm just a win. That's it.
Yeah, it's same for me. I believe I'm going to win as well. Yeah, however I win, I don't know, but it's going to be a win.
yeah.
Someone's always has to go.
Someone's wrong.
Liam, Andy talks about there being a chain of fights between your rematches. Do you see it that way? Do you see you fighting Gary again, or do you think it'll be done and dusted Saturday night?
I don't know. I can't see what's around the corner. I just take each fight as it comes. Going in and do the job, and I leave it down to these guys to plan the next move.
Do you think it'll be close enough to merit a rematch?
I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a close fight. I'm sure Gary don't think it's going to be a close fight. We're obviously very confident, and we just have to wait and see. We can't see what the future holds.
A draw would be nice.
Just to reiterate what Andy said, there's massive incentive for the winner. Obviously, he said about the September thing, but also let's not forget that Liam Smith, who's under the same promotional banner, is obviously WBO champion. Obviously got other things to think of in the shape of Canelo Alvarez in September. But I mean, if Liam Smith was to get beat, then he's going to be looking for a comeback fight, isn't he? And what would be wrong with the winner of this fight? So there's massive incentive, not just Liam Smith. There's other routes to go down, and just you've got two American champions called the Charlo twins, and listen, they're not unbeatable. Why is it everybody thinks that these Americans are the people that we strive to be like? We are better than the Americans now. Look at the amount of champions that we've got, right? And look at the amount of champions that the Americans got. I think you'll find that it's pretty close. And going back years ago, you used to have all the champions were Americans, weren't they? But the tide has turned now. I think boxers in this country are are a lot better, and also trainers in this country are a lot better. Another thing we hear ourselves say, this guy needs to go to America to get trained because it's Freddie Rhodes here, there's this guy, there's good trainers in this country. There's fantastic trainers in this country. There's a lot of good young guys coming through. Frank being one of them. Frank, give us that tenner after, I mean. But look at the likes of the trainers that we got: Bobby Rimmer, Jimmy Tibbs, Mark Tibbs, Joe Gallagher, Dave Caldwell. The list goes on and on and on. There's a lot of good trainers here, and there's a lot of bloody good fighters here. So, these fighters are beatable. And I believe that, sat at the table, we've got 2 fighters here for the future. I believe that Liam's going to win. I think he's a very special talent, and I believe he can go on and win a world title. But as I say, they're 2 very special fighters, I believe, and why not? The winner can probably go on and win a world title. So it's not undoable, and I'm just going on a little bit about these Americans because it gets to be a little bit. But the Charlo twins that are in the same division. They're not unbeatable, and I don't think Canelo's unbeatable. I think Liam Smith's going to give him a really good fight. So, as I said, I went on a bit, but massive incentive for the 2 guys at the table.
How much longer would you like, ideally, with Liam before you thought about world title fights?
I think he's got a bit of an obstacle to get over Saturday night first. We're going to have to see how he handles that. But look, he's still young. I guess if he comes through a tough fight on Saturday, we've got to look at the next move, and we sit down with Frank and Andy and people like that and see what the next move is. But listen, we're not looking past Saturday night. You cannot afford to look past the next fight, especially a fight of this magnitude. We're in for a tough night on Saturday. And if he comes through that's when, after he eats his cakes and calms up a little bit, then that's when we can start looking to the future.
Gary, the same to you. I mean, would you, if you get through Saturday night, would you be looking for world championship? Would you be looking to consolidate it?
No, just look at this fight finish first, and then sit down with the team and see what happens after that.
I mean, the other thing is, Glenn, is it's not, you say looking for a world title, you've got to look who's got the world title.
Sure.
We've just seen that with Anthony Joshua. Would Anthony Joshua have fought for a world title going back 10 years, 15 years? Probably not. But when you see who had the belt, then they were crazy not to take it. The guy was useless, as we all saw. But he had to take the opportunity. So you've got to look at not just a world title fight, you've got to look who holds that world title. Is he beatable? Can you get him over here? It's not just about the guy who's got the world title, it's about the tactical side of it as well. Can we get him over here? Is he beatable? Well, there are guys out there that are beatable. Would Liam go and fight one of the top guys? Probably not in America, because he'd have to go to America to do it. And it's not just about the fight. Gary can speak better than anyone. When you go to America to fight for the world title, the whole scenario is different. The media stuff, everything's different. The food, the hotels.
The 30% withholding tax.
Yeah, the tax. But
that was the biggest pain. No punchlines. The biggest pain is a 30%.
But it's a whole different thing. Take Liam Smith. The fight was made and announced 2 weeks ago, I think. And young Dan will tell you it's his first experience of an American media circus. We've been getting bombarded with requests for media, for press tours, flying out there for press conferences. It all has to be built. So ideally, you bring them over here. Rigondeaux was saying only yesterday that he's had such a relaxed build-up because he's not being pulled from pillar to post. He comes, he does the press conference, he's done a public workout. He's not having to sit down with 10, 12 different broadcasters to answer the same questions. So there's all that. So these guys have to get used to that now, because it isn't just about getting on a plane and fighting. I was out there with Gary. To be honest, it was a bit of a pain, but that's what you have to do. So it's not just about a world champion. We'll go for him because he's got the belt. It's who's got the belt, and is he beatable? And are the terms right? And that's one of the fights we're looking at for the winner of this. Is someone we feel is beatable for both of them.
Glenn, I'd like to add to you that this is a genuine trade fight, you know that. I mean, you've polled 12 people, and you more or less come out split, 7-5 or split. Sure. It's a genuine trade fight, a great domestic fight. If I wasn't here, if I wasn't involved, I'd be here, come to watch it for sure. And I think it's a real good domestic fight, a brilliant fight.
I think it's very much like Ben Watson. I really think that everyone thought Nigel Ben because he was blowing away everybody. And most people are saying the same about Liam. I mean, I don't think there's any secret. A lot of the fans have seen Liam, and I think, you know, but Michael Watson was just sort of a good fighter, but a bit under the radar, a bit pedestrian maybe, but just nothing. He didn't have all the flamboyance of Ben, and we saw what happened on the night. So you can't underestimate Gary just because he, you know, he's quiet, he's quite unassuming and stays under the radar. He goes about his business. You know, I've seen him in the gym. I've probably seen him in the gym more than I have Liam, and he's a better fighter than even he believes, because he doesn't believe he's as good as what people tell him he is.
In what areas has he improved? I mean, obviously he's developed a lot in the last year. Liam's been blowing people away. Gary's had long fights. In what ways has he improved, Frank, since he's been with you over the last year?
From a technical standpoint, every aspect of his game has improved. But for me, the biggest improvement is the mentality. You know, he uses his brain, he's disciplined, and sometimes it can come across as though he's not using his brain, but there's a genuine method behind the madness. And you start to appreciate the method behind the madness when you see the calibre of fighters that he's been sparring, and the fact that this method is having a good effect against world-class fighters. So, you know, for me, he's improved every aspect of his game, and I think a few people are going to be surprised come Saturday night.
Has he calmed down, and has calming him down, has that maybe taken something from him?
I don't think it's so much that he's calmed down, it just hasn't been revved up as much beforehand. It hasn't been just get on him, get on him, get on him. So he's just naturally slowed himself down.
He's grown into the weight, Glenn. He's grown into the weight. He's matured as a person as well as a fighter.
Yeah.
That's for sure. In the last year, he's had a steep learning curve. Don't forget, he's had 3 fights that, you know, were tough. I think 56-6 were the record against the 3 boys that we beat last.
Yeah.
You know, they were tough fights. He's come through with glowing colours. So it's been a steep curve, but he's learnt well. He's listened, disciplined. He's relaxed. We'll see on Saturday night.
Will we all be shaking hands, having a drink together afterwards?
I think they will.
I think they will.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Of course we will.
I think so.
Of course we will.
Listen, they're pros.
Oh,
That's
you're
what
pie
we-
match still.
Oh, you're pie mess, boys. But listen, they're pro fighters. This is what they're born to do. This is what they want to do. They choose to do. And let's just get on with it now.
Get on with the boxing now.
Let's get on with the boxing.
That's it.
Right, any other questions?
What beer? What beer?
Anything you want, don't worry. Not anything they want, we're buying. Saturday night. Be great to share a pint. Let's look forward to a great night on Saturday night.
Should be a good fight.
Fantastic.
Okay, look forward to seeing everyone Saturday night. You've got your press passes sorted. If not, speak to Dan in the front here. Because there's not going to be a lot of room in there, so if you haven't got in, you won't be getting in.
Is it a near sellout,
There's a few left, yeah, there's a few left, but it's close. We're quite pleased actually, because the arena obviously is a new arena, a little bit off the beaten track. Obviously the old one, you could walk in off the street and back out into the city centre afterwards. So the response we've had has been surprisingly good. This guy's ticket sales have obviously, you know, a lot of the boxers have done well. You know, Tommy Langford's done a lot from the Midlands, Bradley Skeet's bringing a couple of hundred down. Every fighter's worked on this show, you know, thanks to all of them, because they've all gone out and grafted to make sure it's a success. His ticket sales have been tremendous. You know, I can't remember, even in my sort of time of coming down here, in sort of 25 years plus of a Welsh boxer that's physically, personally gone out and sold those sort of tickets. And I mean, you Steve Robinson's, Kawasaki's didn't sell that amount on their own. You know, I mean, physically go out and sell them themselves. They might have drawn bigger crowds at the time, but they didn't go out and have that you know, personal sale tally that he's got. And Selby's certainly not selling those tickets. You know, he's a world champion.
Remember the last time in Wales? You did about 8 tickets, I think.
Huh?
You did about 8 tickets, I think,
Yeah.
last time.
Yeah.
But that's obviously built, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, you know, he has done well. You can't knock it. You know.
Done really well.
So hopefully, for Liam's point of view, we'll be back here in September, and hopefully for Gary at the other end of the M4, we'll know on Saturday night. It may be a great fight. We might have to have a rematch. Who knows? But every
In London or Wales?
Depends.
There's no extra time and penalties later, that's for sure.
Okay, thanks for coming. they're about if you need to speak to them afterwards for any photographs or one-to-ones. Thanks very much.